Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bags, the podcast for below average golfers by two below average golfers. My name is Owen Smith, as always, joined by Caleb Wallen. Caleb, as we were interviewing for episode number 15, I believe, which is releasing on Thursday, and my numbers might be off. It might be episode 16. Who knows? But either way, while that was going on, we had what, 2, 3 playoff holes going on in the FedEx St. Jude.
Woo, dude, that was crazy. I I was trying to stay focused, but there was just some wild things going on, and yeah, it was awesome. Great interview, by the way. Can't wait for the listeners to hear it. On Thursday. But yeah, this was a more bizarre playoff experience, I think, than what we're kind of used to, I guess.
For
If
sure.
that makes any sense.
For sure was. And it was tough because, again, we were in a really good conversation with Scott Hogan, which will be released on Thursday. And, it's just we literally it goes to playoff. Sepp Straka hits the putt to send it to a playoff as we are jumping on the meeting to record this podcast. And then we're like, okay, so there's going to be one playoff hole. And the next thing you know, like the interview is going on, and I still have Willie Z and Sepp Straka on the TV going on and some playoff holes. And there was a couple of moments where it was like, oh, well, I guess, Zalatoris might have lost it, but talk about it. Let's just talk
Yeah.
about it.
So
Zalatoris, just tell me about that last hole.
yeah, well, so I think their first playoff hole was kind of cut and dry. I think, Will
Yes.
put it into the first cut of the rough, put it on and two putt, and then Straka actually had a close call on that first playoff hole, to where I thought it might go out of bounds based on the camera view, but it didn't end up going out of bounds. But again, put it on two putt, nothing crazy. Second playoff hole, Will hits a drive that hits the cart path. It goes into the spectators. It goes over the spectators. Ends up in this pine straw looking place. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, well, it's over for Will because Straka's just going to put it out there and then two putt or get it on the green, two putt, and it's over. Well, he hits it into the hazard. It's the ball's dry, but it's on the hazard line. He has to take a drop. So, then they're pretty much back to even when they get on the green. They both hit the putts or whatever. And then that last one, the par 3, 11th hole, Will tees off, and he just looks defeated right after he hits it, kind of begging for it with his body language. It hits the rock line of the green, bounces 7 times. I made sure I watched the replay in slow-mo. It bounced 7 times and nestles between the rock and the rough of the little island green. So again, I'm thinking, oh, he's screwed, right? Like, Straka's going to put one in the middle. It looks like it's a tucked pin. So, put one in the middle, 2 putt, call it a day. Straka hits almost the exact same spot on the rocks. His bounces twice on the rocks and then goes in the water. So he, re-tees. I guess he was from the drop zone, but puts it in the bunker on the backside, chips out and leaves himself, an 8-footer or whatever. But then, you're thinking Zalatoris has it easy. Well, he decides he takes an unplayable. So he goes back to the drop zone, stuffs it close, and then, knocks it in. And then, you just hear the crowd, Willie.
Yeah.
So props to him for finally, getting over that hump. He was 0-2 in playoffs. But now he's got that 1-2, and that one was a pretty big one considering, it wasn't a given that he was going to make the weekend even.
Yeah, and then it accelerates him to number 1 in the FedEx Cup playoffs, or just in the rankings for FedEx Cup. Mm-hmm. He is now number huge. 1, which is ridiculous, but it is awesome. And he's now just slightly over Scottie, but he still, has that lead over Scottie, and clearly being, number one in the FedEx Cup going into the Tour Championship is a huge deal with the advantage that you have there. And
Yeah.
I think FedEx Cup and all of that aside, like Will finally getting a PGA Tour win, finally winning in these situations where he's been so close is just, I'm expecting Zalatoris to just go on a rampage now. Like
Right.
he finally got over that hump, and it's hilarious. Like shout out to Ryan Goebel, his former caddy at this point. Like I don't think that he's a bad guy, and he got Will, from Corn Ferry to PGA Tour. Like he was with him throughout all that, but Will makes the change, and just a week or so later, Will wins his first tournament, and it's a big tournament. So it I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but it almost feels like he's been so close so many times. I'm expecting him to go on a tear, and he's going to be a problem for the majors and for the PGA Tour moving forward. It's just awesome to see him win. He's such a good guy, and he's just that star that he's that next star in the PGA Tour and in the golf world that we need. And finally able to hammer it down. The other thing too, people have been so down on his putting stroke, and he hit some very, very clutch putts
Yeah,
today.
dude, he's not a bad putter. Like he really isn't. He just has a funky stroke. I mean,
and he's fixed it because I from what I saw, I mean, clearly I didn't watch every single time that he putted, but there was a very, he's had a very funky stroke in the past, but it seems that it's gotten straighter and more kind of, it flows a lot better through the stroke. Now, I'm not a swing coach, or far from a swing coach, so I don't know like all the mechanics of it, but it seems a lot better. He seems a lot more comfortable, and the whole narrative that he can't putt and that his stroke is bad and all that, like it's almost defeated at this point. He gets the PGA Tour victory number one, and in a really fashion by putting pretty well. So
yeah, and
wow.
like I don't know that I ever really believed that he couldn't putt. From all the social media things, like we saw it time and time again. Like he put himself in the position to win. He just couldn't get over the hump. Like, and I almost wondered, getting all these second places, top fives, whatever it is, is he going to turn into like Mr. Second Place like Tony was for a long time? And like I hate to see that. Like, he obviously works his tail off, to get where he's at, and to come up short like repeatedly, just it has to be so tough to be able to like suit up the next week and be like, okay, well, based on previous events, the best I can do is second. Like now, obviously he probably doesn't have that mindset, but could he go on a tear, like you said, kind of like what Tony's doing right now? Like Tony got that one, and then it's like, all right, ball game, let's go. So, and Tony rattled off 2 in a row. So if Will does this, Will rattles off 2 in a row. I mean, that's absolutely going into first place in the playoffs. And, they start at 10 under if you're the one. So, this could get scary for a lot of guys as far as Will Zalatoris goes.
For sure. Because early on in the season too, like Scottie was on his rampage and, won the Masters, and just he looked like the greatest golfer out there. But now he's in a position where he didn't even make the cut in this one. And like, I think Scottie will be fine. He's still a good golfer, but everyone just almost assumed that he was going to get the title, or is going to be down to him and Cam Smith. And now here we are, where we're talking about Zalatoris, number one in the FedEx Cup rankings. And I think the confidence that he is going to have going into next week and into the Tour Championship it's going to be through the roof. And it's just interesting, the caddy change. Like, is that what led to it? Was there something going on in between them as far as, it just wasn't working out? Like, is that what put him through, or was it finally just his time and he himself, the player, figured it out and willed his way to win? I don't know. It's hard to tell, but
if they've been together for so long, like I feel like you would have heard a little bit more tension, maybe brewing between them, unless they were really good at keeping it, under wraps or whatever. But, sometimes just a change of scenery is what you need. Like, I had a wedge for a long time that I really loved. And then it was like, okay, I'm not hitting it great. So what can I do? And, I decided to go with another one and doing all right with it. I still need to work on it, but even if it's just like the placebo effect, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, it's something new. Is it different? Probably not. But, in my head, I'm like, all right, it's new, like it's going to work. And so, that kind of situation, that would be small scale compared to, somebody that you work with every day. But,
Right.
maybe that's just what he needed, was that change of scenery.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes that's all you need, and caddies are extremely important. I'll kind of go back on what I said. It was more of just maybe I think that there's certain levels of coaches and certain level of, in this case, caddy, where, Ryan Goebel got him to a good spot. They had a good relationship. They clearly had a lot of success, although they never got a win on the PGA tour or in a major. I mean, Will went from, unless you're really ingrained into the golf community, he went from a nobody to a somebody really quick,
Real
kicking
quick.
off with the, 2020 Masters. And next thing you know, I mean, he's the one of the golf's biggest stars because of that, and with all of his success. So he did really good together. But sometimes you just need that next step, or you need that slight change. And Zalatoris even came out over the past week and was like, I love him like a brother. We're good. This isn't, we're still friends, all of that. Now, whether or not that's true, like, we'll never know, but that's not really
Right.
for us to find out. But it doesn't seem that there was tension. It just seems like maybe there was just something that the style of their relationship or whatever it was just wasn't working to hit those putts, or to, accelerate it to another level that you need to win big events like the FedEx Cup playoffs and
Yeah.
like major championships. So yeah, crazy weekend, crazy good golf. It felt good to, this is the first event since the Open Championship where you're getting all the guys back together on the PGA Tour. And it's been kind of dry until then, just from an, it just didn't have the same feel when you don't have all the top guys. Now clearly Tony went on his tear in between that, which
Yeah.
was good to see. But from the casual golfer and golf watcher, it's nice to get all these guys together. The two biggest stories before the weekend was Scottie and Rory not making the cut. That's tough. It was tough to watch. Again,
Mm-hmm.
Scottie still is only 125 points away from Zalatoris, even though he didn't even get points this weekend. So
Yeah.
he'll be okay. He just needs to clearly turn it around and hope that Zalatoris doesn't even just pile it up on him more. But he has an opportunity this upcoming weekend to add some points to his favor. And then Rory, I think Rory's going through something after the Open Championship a little bit.
Yeah. Taking
He,
that time off, I mean, that
yeah,
can, you think it's only a couple of weeks, but, and, when you're used to playing every week, like that rust, it's just different on that level. And I don't want to say Roy's rusty by any means, but, whatever it is, like it could be, a week long thing. It could be a month long thing. And, being Rory fans, we're hoping that it doesn't go, much past, Monday
yeah,
or Tuesday this week, but still it's like he probably needs to figure out something and figure out quick.
right. Yeah. Well, and the thing too was, not only did he not play in any tournament since the Open Championship, but he legitimately came out and said, I didn't play golf for 2 weeks, two
Yeah.
or 3 weeks after. That's not, take away I mean, you're going to get natural, I think, a little rust. I mean, we're talking about the best of the best right now, but you'll get a little rust by not playing in professional tournaments and then going back to your professional tournament. But to not play the game at all is where it starts to build up a little bit. Now, he's fine. He's in the top 70. He's even in good position still to be in the top 30, clearly, for the Tour Championship. But it, like you said, it just adds up by not playing, and this is the best of the best. So hoping that he can turn it around, as like you said, as Rory fans, we're hoping that he's able to turn it around for this weekend and be, competitive going into the Tour Championship. Because if you're not those top couple spots, it's good
It's
luck.
tough.
It's really
But,
tough.
I'll as far as Rory goes, I mean, he bared a lot of weight
Uh-huh.
all season this season. So, I don't want it to be the point where it's like, he's done all of this for the one side of golf, essentially, where like it's all just came to a head and it's like, hey, here's this weight that you've been carrying this whole time. It's decided to drop now. Like, I don't want that to happen by any means, but I almost wonder if like that's why. Like,
Yeah, certainly what the responsibility that he's played for the PGA Tour and the positions that he's been in the major championships, and especially the Open Championship, where everybody heading into Sunday just assumed that he was going to will his way from the top and keep himself in the position to win that tournament, finally get another major championship win, and put on for the golf world and specifically for the PGA Tour world, because there's there's a lot going on between PGA and Live and the golf community right now, and he's been the forefront of the PGA Tour side. So there's, like you said, there's just a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and I just hope that, listen, I love the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think that winning it clearly is a good financial payout for a lot of these guys, and it puts you in good contention, for greatness conversations and all of that. But at the end of the day, major championships is what takes the cake. And as long as he can get through this and be okay, and then, head into next season and head into the Masters without all of that weight and be able to shake off that rust beforehand, and he'll be in good position. I just hope it doesn't bleed beyond this and into that, because he carries a lot of weight going into Augusta every single year, because that's what's holding him back from the career Grand Slam. And he was second place last year, and he's been close before. So he already carries some weight there, and a lot of, I'm sure, stress and anxiety associated with that. So let's just hope that this responsibility doesn't bleed into it. And it's unfortunate that isn't even has to be something, but I guess it's just the responsibility you have as being, the face of a league or face of a franchise in some ways. And they're built different, and they're compensated different for that as well.
right.
So we'll hope that Scottie and Rory get back into it on the upcoming weekend. The other big storyline is that Cam Smith, it's an interesting story. So basically, he was coming into Sunday with, I think he only had a 2-shot, 3-shot,
2 shots off the lead.
2 shots off the lead. Okay. So he only had 2 shots off the lead. And then all of a sudden, the tour officials approached him and said, hey, actually, we found this out from yesterday. We're adding a 2-shot stroke or 2-stroke penalty to your score because you broke this rule. Now, I don't know the official rule number and all that, but essentially what happened is he had hit into a hazard. He placed the ball, or, did the process of placing the ball, and his ball was still on the red line, which is still considered part of the hazard. So because of that, he played it. No one said anything in the moment. Because of that invokes a 2-stroke penalty. Well, the thing about it, and what's being debated right now, is why is this coming right before he's about to start? Why did this not happen yesterday? Because this happened about midday yesterday. So Caleb,
I think it was like his fourth hole.
Yeah, it was 24 hours, roughly, like 24 hours before the ruling actually came in, and he got approached in the clubhouse at St. Jude, at the St. Jude Invitational. So, Caleb, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, to be honest with you. I think the timing of it doesn't help, with all the rumors and everything. But like getting past that, like I've seen a lot of, takes on Twitter or whatever, where I would absolutely agree. Like, I think there needs to be a little bit more accountability as far as like the tour goes. Because, they have officials everywhere. So the fact that they, waited this long to give it to him, it sucks. I mean, they asked him about it and he said, oh, like that makes sense. Like he didn't deny that he didn't do anything wrong. Like he understood, right. Like, hey, I played the ball from the wrong spot or whatever it was. He was willing to take that 2-stroke penalty, but at the same time, it's like, why should he if nobody called it out then? There was a big thing a few years ago where, the tour gets X amount of calls a day trying to just invoke penalties. And so they they shut that down to where it's like, Jim from Wisconsin is calling in because he doesn't like Tiger Woods. And he said, oh, like, Tiger did this, so he needs to be penalized. And then, somebody scrolls through the book of rules and it's like, okay, well, actually, they did something like, in this instance, he is in the wrong. So we're going to go ahead and penalize him for it. Like that wasn't good for the game. So it's giving off that vibe to me where it's like somebody got petty along the way, maybe. And maybe that's not what it is. Maybe they just, for whatever reason, didn't catch it until then. But I don't think you could tell me that nobody caught it. Even if it wasn't that hole, maybe a couple holes down the road where it's like, all right, you're on the 8th hole now. Like, by the way, this happened. Or, I mean, right. I get maybe waiting until after the tournament, or after like the round, because you don't want to spook a guy in the middle of the, in his round. But again, that's right after the round. That's the same day. It's not something that's going to cause further, questions when it comes the next day. I mean, that's a tough scene.
Right. Because especially with where he was at with strokes, I mean, he goes from two shots out to 4 shots out, which means, as he ends the round and goes into Sunday, he's thinking that he's only 2 shots out. That's a different mentality. Number one. Number two, he's paired in that grouping. So he's, paired a part of that. That has some weight to it in some ways. And it's just completely, it's like, I don't think that there was malicious intent by the PGA Tour towards Cam for that. But I also am like, why are we dealing with this now? Because
right.
Truthfully, I know that it's a rule, and I know that like Cam Smith was really professional about it. And how everything was handled. But like, truthfully, when we look at that, what was the big advantage by him being 1 inch below? You know what I mean? Like, it's not, he already had a penalty from being a hazard. Like, did that really give him any sort of advantage that it wouldn't otherwise? And I don't know. I think the timing of it is just very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I just don't like, I mean, it's like we're watching an NFL game and we think we see a pass interference. Now, we're not talking about the Saints and the NFC Championship a couple of years ago. That's right. A different story.
Goodness gracious.
That was blatant. But, you're watching the game and there's going to be missed penalties, but the game doesn't get altered after the fact because there was a missed penalty. Right. There's the refs own that they missed something, but they didn't catch it in that moment. So they're going to move forward. There's plenty of cameras that were on that round on Cam Smith. There's plenty of officials that are out there at a PGA, FedEx Cup playoffs. Like if they would have been, then sure, tell them after the round. But if you're watching the tape at night and you just so happen to see that Cam Smith is on a red line, like, come on. Now, we kind of stepped over it. The reason that there's a lot of question marks around this is, Cam Smith is rumored to go to Live Golf, and he is not owning it right now. And that's most likely because he wants to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. And if he comes out outright and says that he's going to Live Golf, then they're not going to let him play, and he has no opportunity to win the playoffs. And but he hasn't denied it either. So there's a lot of towards him going to Live Golf. And because of that, that's why there's so many question marks around this of like, so did you guys watch every single step that he made to make sure that he wasn't in contention for this?
Right.
Again, I don't think there's malicious intent, but there is a lot of question marks around this. And that's why there's so much even more outrage than there would be normally, specifically from Twitter accounts that were built in 2022.
Right. And I think the one thing that, like, you know, you can look back and kind of say, okay, well, they at least made right by him a little bit, is because in certain situations, like a guy, you know, incurs a penalty, doesn't write it down or whatever. They don't, for whatever reason, it slips past their mind, whatever it is, you know, they get into the clubhouse, they sign for a 68 when really it should be a 70. As soon as you sign for a wrong card or a wrong number, you're disqualified. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, you signed for the wrong score, you know, whether you knew it or not. Like, you're penalized. You didn't put it on there. Like, you signed for it, you know, you're done. So I think that was a good thing as far as like him not getting disqualified for that, because technically, like, he did sign for the wrong score, but he didn't know at the time. So, like, there, you know, there's been other instances where that's happened. Guys get disqualified because they signed for the wrong card. And, you know, I'm glad that he didn't do that, or I'm glad that didn't happen to him, because that, again, would have been, you know, unfair, I think, to me. Like, with all the officials out there, you can't tell me that nobody can come up, even if he's walking off the 18th green, like, hey, by the way, like, there's a penalty. You know, you could give him the whole Rom treatment when he walked off 18 at the Memorial and was told that he can't play because of COVID. So, you know, they're out there, they've seen him. You know, I just, it sucks for the timing. It doesn't help anybody's cause, I don't think. But I am glad that he was able to play today. Now, he shot even. You know, would he have shot even, you know, had he not taken the penalty? Or, you know, if he would have taken the penalty, would it have changed things? I don't know. But, you know, I'm glad that he was at least able to play.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, you're right. They did do right by that, and glad that he was still able to play, because he's in contention regardless of rumors. Like, let's own it, or, you know, let's see it as it is right now.
Yeah.
He's one of the best golfers in the world, and he has done a lot of good things this year to put himself in position. And if he would have not been included in this round, or we might have not seen Cam Smith play another round for the PGA Tour had that happen. But I think we still got him around for at least a couple more tournaments with the FedEx Cup playoffs. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was I don't think it was a conspiracy, or, you know, they were kind of including against him, but you never know. It is suspicious. I think the thing that the PGA Tour has to really watch out for by making that ruling is be prepared for people to roll the tapes back on Zalatoris or Straka or Scottie or whoever, and they're going to be watching really, really close to see, do you penalize other people in this same fashion?
Yeah.
Because if you're only treating this one person that is rumored to go elsewhere, and you're not treating everybody else, that goes against the integrity of the game.
Right.
And that's bigger than the PGA Tour. That's bigger than that's bigger than any league, because we're talking about the game of golf that everybody has the opportunity to play, and there's rules associated with that. So be prepared for that, but I hope that it was not in kind of a malicious intent there. So the other thing, while we're on the topic of Cam Smith, since again it's still rumors, we don't know what's going to happen, and if he joins, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little more. But there was something interesting that happened on Thursday that I want to get your thoughts on. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, he was paired up with Scottie Scheffler, because, you know, they're two of the best, and Scottie seemed to walk through Cam Smith's putting line, or at least his viewing line. How did you see that whole situation?
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm not gonna throw any darts on it, because I'm sure I've done that in the past, out of frustration. You know, you saw it in the outing. If people, you know, watch our little highlight video, I did give a little club toss. So I'm not one to throw stones as far as getting mad and kind of, I don't want to call it acting out, because I don't think, it was that bad. The optics aren't great, being, again, the timing. But Scottie had a rough day. We saw him, I don't know if it was before that or after that, where he like slammed his putter into his hand a couple times, or he hit his putter at least twice on the video that you sent me. So it's like,
yeah,
you could tell that he was visibly frustrated. So I don't know if we can pinpoint like, hey, I'm mad, I'm gonna take it out on Cam. I think it was just one of those where, it's probably the shortest distance to his bag, and he probably thought about slamming his putter into his bag along the way, and that was all that he was thinking about. But had to reserve himself from one thing or another, and it just so happened that he walked. And I mean, who's to say that Cam wasn't 12 feet behind the ball? I mean, so he couldn't, or not necessarily couldn't, but didn't want to walk around that extra 6 feet because he wasn't even that close to his ball in the first place. I mean, I don't know that we got that broad of a picture. So, but yeah, it was unfortunate, I guess, based on just the looks. But again, like I'm not going to cast that stone, because I've definitely acted out a couple times on the course.
Yeah, I have nothing against Scottie in this situation. And the reason being is I don't think that it was intentional, and I don't think that he truthfully has any problem with Cam Smith. Like, I think that if the rumors are true, which it looks like the rumors are true, but if that's the case, like, guys are going to feel a certain way towards these guys that are leaving. But just because they feel that way, I don't think that they're going to treat them any differently to that level, right? Like, they may not talk with them in the locker room, or they may not, go out to dinner with them, but they're not going to walking across someone's line intentionally. Like, some people don't care about it, but to me, like, that's extremely disrespectful if it's intentional, and if you're trying to throw off your opponent. So I don't think that it was intentional, number one. I don't think that anybody, I take that back. There'd probably be somebody that would do it, but somebody like Scottie or some of the top guys that are genuinely good people and care about the game of golf and have been raised on the game of golf and how it's supposed to be played. And, you don't get to the PGA Tour without understanding some of that stuff. So I don't think that those type of people wouldn't do something like that. So that's why I don't think it's intentional. Number two, I think Cam Smith, first off, he's one of the greatest putters out there right now. So he takes a lot of looks at the ball and the line and everything going on. And he has a tendency to look further back. I don't think Scottie actually crossed his putting line, because technically your putting line is, just your ball marker to the hole. It's not the 12 feet behind it as well. Like, sure, he probably wouldn't have crossed him if he wasn't pissed off about whatever just happened. But again, even if he did, like, he didn't technically step on his line. Now, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, wow, Scottie's taking shots at Cam Smith and Liv.
Yeah.
But as I watched it more, I was like, okay. I don't think this is a genuine things towards Cam. So last couple of notes on the FedEx Cup, just, again, it gets knocked down to the top 70. I just want to say I loved watching the FedEx Cup St. Jude, because I've paid attention to it before, but it's a different level when you're hosting a podcast and your life's all about golf at this point. And so,
and it's different seeing those numbers, next to everybody's names. Like, okay, shoot, like, these guys are three numbers outside of the line. Like, they're going to have to do something, or, hey, this guy's comfy, but he makes a triple bogey. It's like, oh boy, like Ricky, how did, Ricky was sailing, he got in on the number. He was number 125. He got in, he was cruising all week, and then he makes a 9, a quadruple bogey on one of the holes, and all of a sudden, like, he's probably not in the top 70 anymore. So I haven't looked to see where he's at, but I can't imagine
top 70 for sure.
So it looked like he was probably going to be there, but then after that, it's like, all right, well, he's done. So it's like, those
it's electric.
storylines I find are a lot more interesting, just because like you can see exactly where they're at. Like we see it during the season, you know, the little green number that tells, you know, their number 86, their number, you know, 140,
Right.
like, but those don't mean much until, you know, you get to this point and it's like, shoot, like these guys are actually playing for something here.
Well, the thing too is that the points are quadrupled. So this
Yeah.
just means a whole nother level. So like for example, Lucas Glover moved up 87 points with his performance this week. He was at 121. He barely was able to play.
Yeah.
Had the live guys still been involved with FedEx Cup playoffs, the PJ Tour probably would have taken care of him. But like he was 121. If those guys were in it, he was most
Right.
likely not going to be a part of this. And now he's in contention for the Tour Championship because he's at 34. So he just needs another good weekend
Yeah.
to, you know, get into that top 30 for the Tour Championship.
Well,
So
and I think
it's
I
just
saw Will like climb 33 spots.
Will was 12
Was 12.
before.
Okay.
So he just climbed, but still like to go from
Maybe it was
12 to
Straka
1.
that if
Straka
it,
Yeah, Straka ended up
maybe he was
climbing
the one that climbed.
27 because
Yeah.
he was 35 and he had an opportunity. I mean, if he would have won,
I
he
think
would
that's
have
may have been
been,
what I saw.
because yeah, if he would have won, he would have been top 4-ish, roughly top 5-ish, and he was
Yeah.
at 35. So like, yeah, he would have
Yeah.
jumped 30 spots there. But the broadcast did a great job. This was the first time, other than the majors, where I was like happy with the broadcast because they were just keeping you updated with projections. Yeah, if you hit a triple bogey here or if you have a birdie here, like wildly
That's
different
huge.
where you end up, and it's
Yeah.
highly suggest that people go watch it this upcoming weekend because it's electric. It makes
Yeah.
golf even more fun and the broadcast even more fun because like you said, throughout the year it's just another number. But yeah, so shout out to all of those. We're looking forward to the upcoming weekend with that. Of course, we'll recap it on next Monday's episode as well. So